Okay, so you ever wonder how a massive sales team, we're talking hundreds of people, all manage to march in the same direction? Or how a company can, with startling accuracy, predict what its revenue is going to be a year from now? Well, the answer lies in this role that's become the absolute secret weapon of modern business: sales operations. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this critical and honestly pretty misunderstood job.
I just love this quote because, let's be real, it perfectly captures what's going on out there. As sales teams grow and scale, you're adding more people, more products, more territories, and things can get chaotic, fast. And that chaos is exactly where our story starts. You need someone, a special function, to bring a little bit of order to all that beautiful madness.
And that's where sales operations, or sales ops, comes in. You got to think of them as the silent force working behind the scenes, While the sales reps are out there, the stars of the show, closing deals, sales ops, they're the brilliant directors, the producers, the choreographers, making sure the whole production is a smash hit. They're the ones making sales teams smarter, faster, and just way more efficient.
So what do they actually do all day? Let's nail down a clear definition, because honestly, if you can understand this role, you can understand how modern sales engines are really built to last. They are, no exaggeration, the backbone of any sales team that's playing to win.
Here it is in a nutshell. Sales ops is the strategic and operational engine that powers the people who actually sell. So it's not about them making individual calls or closing deals themselves. Nope. It's about building the entire system, the whole machine, that allows those deals to be closed way more predictably and, of course, more often.
And this, right here, is where you can really see the difference. It lays it out so clearly. Your frontline sales rep, they're facing the client, building those crucial relationships, getting deals across the line. But sales ops, they're facing the business, building the processes, optimizing the tech, planning the territories. They're two sides of the exact same revenue-generating coin, and when they work together, it's just magic.
All right, so if we were to shadow a sales ops pro for a day, what would that look like? Well, here's the thing. A simple 9-to-5 meeting-by-meeting breakdown, it just doesn't capture the essence of the job. It's way too dynamic for that. So instead, we're going to borrow a really brilliant framework from an industry expert to see how they really break down their time.
And this quote from Judy Bonnet, who's the head of sales ops at Glean, gives us a much better way to think about it. Instead of a linear to-do list, she thinks of her role as a portfolio of different functions. A pie chart where she's allocating her focus and energy across a few key areas every single day.
And here is that beautiful pie chart. This is basically our roadmap for the rest of this explainer. A sales ops pro's time is this perfect blend of 4 key functions: a little bit of administrative, a good chunk of analytical, some management, and another big slice of strategic work. So let's dive in and break down what each of these pieces actually looks like.
So let's get into the weeds of these 4 functions. Think of it like a day in 4 acts, where our sales ops hero puts on 4 very different but equally important hats to get the job done.
First up, that administrative slice. It's about 20% of their time, and it's all about keeping the lights on. Now, this might not sound like the most glamorous part of the job, but it is absolutely foundational. We're talking about maintaining the CRM, making sure the data is squeaky clean, managing those recurring reports. Without this, believe me, everything else just falls apart.
Next, we've got the analytical chunk, which takes up about 30% of their time. This is where sales ops really becomes the brains of the entire sales organization. They're diving deep into the data, building those critical sales forecasts, managing the pipeline, and creating dashboards that tell a story. And that's the key. It's not just about crunching numbers. It's about finding the narrative in the data and turning it into real, actionable insights for leadership.
The third slice, another 20%, is management. But, and this is a big but, it's not about managing people on a team. It's about managing stakeholders and processes across the entire company. It's a hugely collaborative role. They've got to get buy-in from VPs, they have to work with marketing on lead quality, align with finance on revenue goals. They're basically the ultimate cross-functional diplomat. And finally, we get to the biggest slice of the pie at 30%, strategic initiatives. This is the fun stuff. This is where sales ops drives real, long-term change. This isn't just keeping the lights on. This is like upgrading the entire power grid. Take a look at this project example. Improving forecast accuracy isn't a simple task, right? It's a huge project involving deep analysis, new tech, redesigning processes, and training. This is how they create massive leverage for the business.
Okay, so we've seen the 4 hats they wear: the administrative, the analytical, the management, and the strategic. But so what? Why does any of this matter?
Well, let's connect these day-to-day activities to the actual, tangible results they create. This is where the rubber really meets the road.
Check this out. By focusing on process improvements, sales ops can bring in automation that literally eliminates over 500 hours of boring manual work every single month. I mean, think about that. That's time the sales team gets back to do what they do best, sell. It's an incredible efficiency gain.
And remember all that analytical work? Well, they build tools like these performance dashboards. And what happens? People get real-time visibility into what's working. And the result is a 20% jump in team productivity. It's kind of like sports. When players can see the score, they just play the game better.
And that whole management function, aligning with other departments, it's not just about playing nice in the sandbox. When sales goals are perfectly in sync with the bigger company vision, it translates directly to the bottom line. We're talking a serious increase in total sales revenue.
And what about those big strategic projects? Well, by bringing in advanced tools like machine learning, they can achieve a frankly staggering 95% forecast accuracy. And that lets the entire company, from finance to product development, plan with an insane amount of confidence. That, my friends, is a total game changer.
So, if you're going to remember one thing from all this, it's this. Sales operations takes the often unpredictable, chaotic world of sales and it introduces discipline, process, and data. It transforms sales from being an art, dependent on a few heroic individuals, into a science that's scalable, predictable, and repeatable.
So, the next time you see a company with a ridiculously high-performing sales team that's growing like crazy, just remember that silent force working behind the curtain. Because in a world that runs on data, the role of sales ops is only getting more and more critical. Which really just leaves us with one final question to think about. Is sales ops no longer just supporting the team, but maybe, just maybe, becoming the new MVP of the entire business? It's a lot to chew on. Thanks for tuning in.